everybody to our bread and more tutorial. Today we will be covering baker's percentages. During this tutorial we will be explaining what is it, the why use percentages, the math behind it. I'm going to show you some useful links as well as explaining our basic dough recipe in percent rather than in grams. And our last slide will cover the questions. So this is a nice slideshow. I hope you enjoy it. Stick with it, as I know slideshows are dry, but hey, pour yourself a glass of wine, God have a name, and go watch it, or have a beer. I'll have water here, so because I need to stay sober. Otherwise, I'm going to explain something very different than the baker's percentages here. That said, let's start with our what is it part, and it is actually math used in baking. So believe it or not, we are using math in baking. Well, we are weighing stuff and ingredients and all that. So there's a little math involved, but higher math like percentages or higher math, right? Not really thought about this before I started baking bread, and neither did my wife. But hey, you learn something. So it actually calculates the amount of the ingredients used in dough. And it's if you have a recipe in percent, it will help you calculate your grams, ounces, pounds, kilograms, whatever unit of measure you use. It's based on the total weight of flour. So your total weight of flour is equaling the 100%, and you derive all the other ingredients weights from those 100%, which I will show you later how this is done. And like I said, the bakers divide each ingredient by the total weight of flours, and believe it or not, multiply it by 100, you actually get percent out of it. So that's the higher math part I was referring to earlier. So if you already have downed your first glass of wine, it's not going to be as dry anymore. So keep going, right? It generally helps you evaluate if your dough is drier, saltier, sweeter, etc. It can also help you evaluate whether your dough is too wet, for example. So you have a high water content in there, so you cannot really shape it, you cannot form it. So might actually reduce your water content, and if you reduce the percentages, it calculates it out in grams, and you're really good to go, right? So where is it used? It's actually used and recognized internationally, and expresses in formulas for the bakery products, just such as rolled bread and more. I mean, any type of bakery products, also sweets. Oh, and very interesting. So without further ado, let's see what actually does it mean to use percentages, right? So why percentages? As I mentioned it's a little bit more precise, when you deal with percentages. And bread and roll baking, what we do here in our channel mainly, it actually needs precision. So precision means accuracy. Accuracy means you have to weigh. You're weighing your dough, right, and your ingredients, right? I hope you do, and if you don't, I would highly recommend to start weighing it. So that kind of leads me to another topic, and no offense to anyone using those measures, right? So cups, teaspoons, and such, are actually not weight units of measures. They are volume units of measures. So compacting flour into a cup, gives you a different weight than just pouring it in there, having it loosely in there, and weighing it, right? So keep that in mind. And again, so bread and roll baking, more precision, more accuracy required. Um, you should do A, grams, and B, no cups, use weights, so ounces, pounds, etc. That said, like I explained earlier, is it's easy to scale the formula up and down. So your basic dough recipe, then in percent you need more. You just add or put your flour weight, total flour weight in grams, and double it or whatsoever, and it will calculate out your ingredients in grams as well. So like I said, you need more larger loaves, more rolls, etc., etc. Helps you quite a bit on that. Percentages allow you to use any type of unit of measure. So if you have percent, you want to actually measure it out in grams. You want to measure it in ounces. Both works. So go right ahead. Just keep in mind ounces and pounds are less accurate. So imperial weight systems. Um, Not so accurate than the metric weight systems, which leads me to our example here is grams are metric. Right? So sometimes you see measures which are like 2.5 ounces, in this case 2.5 ounces, which hey, how come it's half metric, half imperial, right? So if you already have metric, why not go completely metric? And 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams, so it's easier to divide. The division by 10 by 1,000, it's a whole lot easier than trying to divide ounces in halves and quarters and all that, right? At least for me it is, right? So if you haven't done that yet, get yourself a weight scale, and with grams as an option. It makes the weighing a whole lot more accurate. And use our bread recipes and roll recipes and everything, which are will be in the future in percent as well, and currently is still in grams. So, but use them and you'll find that they work out pretty well. So next step, the math behind it. So it's not hard. It's fairly simple math. Our higher math equals percentages, right? So whoa, so let's enter that realm here. See how we can deal with it. Again, so your baker's percent, so your percent of your ingredient equals your weight of your ingredient. So if you have a recipe in grams or ounces already, you can actually work out the percentages. You know, and you divide it by your total weight of flour. So if you have two different kinds of flour you're using, say you have a dinkel flour or you have a in bread flour, you need to add the both weights together to get your total weight of flour, and then you just multiply it by 100. So and now let's give you some visual here. Um, in our example here, we have a total weight of 100%, so our flour weight, right? So our water is 70%, which is also sometimes called 70% hydration, right? We're going to be using 2% of salt, 1% of yeast. So calculating this out will give us the following result. So for 500 grams of flour, right, we're going to get about 350 grams of water. And yes, you can weigh water. Just put it on the scale and the bowl, and you can weigh it out. Way more accurate than trying to do milliliters or fluid ounces or something along those lines. So I've never seen a bread recipe, be honest, in fluid ounces or something. Cups, yeah, more likely, but that's even worse. Anyway, salt in this case, 2% salt, 500 grams, 2%, 10 grams, right? Oh, and you know how to do the math in percent, right? So 500 divided by 100 times 2. So 500 divided by 100 is 5 times 2 equals 10%. Same thing applies to the yeast here with 1%. So this is your basic dough recipe here, right, in percent. And as you can see, you can do 750. It will actually calculate it out here as well, the same way. So very simple to up and downscale your dough quantities or your ingredient quantities, um, and it gives you a bigger loaf, more rolls, etc. So fairly straightforward. That leaves us with our almost last stop here. Our basic dough recipe, which you saw in our bread for two, which you can also find in our baking technique section. So that calculates out to about 250 grams of flour in total. As you can see, we have two different kind of flour here. And with a 70% hydration, it's 175 grams of water. With 2% salt gives you 5 grams of salt. And with about 0.6% yeast, and this is so small because we're using dry yeast. The regular yeast would actually be a little bit more, a little heavier, so more a higher percentage here. But since we are using dry yeast, I should actually put a dry here. We're going to get about 1.5 grams. So if you can do even less than that with 0.4, it still will work. So you're looking at 1 gram of yeast. Hope that kind of makes it a little bit more transparent how it works. So get a baker's percent recipe for bread or for roll, and look at it and work out your um, quantities in grams or ounces. So well, you can use ounces, that's okay. And I hope, by the way, you're not drunk yet. So just stay with me for a little longer. We're about done. And uh, if in case you don't get the end here, just watch it again. No problem. So moving on to the next slide. Two links here. One for an online calculator, which you can run on your Internet Explorer, on your laptop, or on your PC. And Apple actually has an app as well for the baker's percentage. Right? So download it and start calculating. And at last but not least, we're happy to answer any of your questions. Just put them in the comment section below. I hope we can keep up with them. Hope it was not too difficult. And we appreciate you coming here, watching the video to the end, this time. And of course, we would really love to see you subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Helps us. And we'll put more content up for you in the future. I hope it was not too dry. I hope if it was dry, you had something to drink with you, so it's not that dry now anymore. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.